Welcome to Prime Debate. Heritage can play a powerful role in economic development. This is especially true in rural areas, but they may be rich in heritage assets yet suffer from poverty. Conserving and nurturing rural heritage can definitely provide a foundation for economic growth, but that too faces many hurdles. In Prime Debate, we discuss how conserving rural heritage can lead to rural development. When we talk of preserving heritage, it's generally buildings and sites, some funds and manual labor that might help in conserving them. But what about the rural heritage that's falling prey to rapid urbanization?
There's life in every grain of sand. We call it heritage, but for most, it is the fabric of life. A fabric that weaves together numerous sights, sounds, fragrances, smiles and tears. You don't really have to dig around in historical monuments to understand culture. There's culture in the tangy flavor of the chutney a grandmother makes after grinding spices on her grinding stone in the morning. You can hear culture in the crooning of a man, coaxing his buffalo to offer a good yield of milk. Culture springs from the house next door. Culture rests in the silken cushions embroidered with fulkaris. It dances in the joyous abandon of youth, celebrating a life so simple, so innocent, so fresh. Can you imagine a life without those sights and sounds? Well, you very well can, because sights have a way of fading away. Should we let them?
To discuss this issue, we are joined in the studios by Lord Diljit Rana, Member House of Lords UK and Honorary Counsel General of Government of India in Belfast. S.K. Misra, former Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, J.C. Sharma, former Secretary External Affairs Ministry, Professor Shyamal Chatterjee, Professor of Law in London University, UK, and Anil Malhotra, an advocate. Welcome to our studios, everybody. I'll begin with Lord Rana. You want to preserve rural heritage. What does that mean and how do you intend to do it?
See, India lives 70% in rural area, and mostly rural areas have been neglected over last 60 plus years. Most of the focus of development have been in urban areas.
Right.
And it's creating a lot of problems. The shanty town is urban areas, no employment worth talking about in rural areas, so people have to seek employment and go to urban areas. And even in field of education, most of the higher level education institutes are all in big cities. I think the salvation and the future development of India depends on us focusing on rural heritage. Development of rural areas, creating job opportunities there, providing education to our young people in rural areas, vocational training programs. So we have to take pride in our villages, pride in our culture, because if you don't have pride, you don't progress.
Absolutely.
Because then you are like a rootless, tree which could fall. And India has been for centuries looking towards others for its leadership, and we have neglected our heritage. So it is a great initiative now to revive rural heritage, which provides a regeneration of rural areas, provides employment there, provides higher level education there, and us taking pride in our culture, arts and crafts, culture. It's not just buildings. And unless we take pride, then those areas are neglected and we will keep on having the problem that we are having.
Right. Let's talk about your village, Sanghol. Talking about Sanghol means that you're talking about the Indus Valley civilization. So have you been able to, or have this village been able to preserve that civilization, and how successful it would have been?
Well, we started with the education project there in Sanghol, which has been going on now for 10 years. We have various colleges there provide third level education. So that has contributed to children who otherwise won't have the opportunity for third level education, especially girls, and half our students qualifying are girls, which provides, and the transformation, you know, people think that children growing up in rural areas would be timid and all that. Once they get the opportunity, they excel and they are as good as anybody. So it's providing them that opportunity to learn, to take pride in their heritage. So this is the first stage of the development. Then we are inviting other people to come to Sanghol, and we are creating a website for Sanghol. We are trying to make awareness, and we have various schemes that people know about Sanghol. People come to Sanghol, people appreciate the heritage which is there in the museum which is there, the Buddhist stupas, there are 2 stupas there. So various things are happening.
Have you been able to, have you been successful in finding people in India who actually show interest in preserving the rural heritage and who can actually join hands with you on this?
There are some people who are very good and very much interested. But I have to say there's not enough. I've been living in England, United Kingdom for 40 plus years, and it's amazing the difference that people take pride even in small things. And in Punjab and Haryana and this part of India, we have such rich heritage at all levels, and most of it sadly is neglected.
Right.
Nobody has even catalogued it. Nobody has paid any attention in preserving it. And even the education, culture, music, we are trying to sell more West and looking towards the West.
Absolutely.
Rather than taking pride in our own culture.
Right. Let me come to Mr. Misra. You are known to be the man behind the highway tourism in Haryana. Rural heritage, what are you thinking about it? Any ideas about it which you have with you?
Well, I have moved away from tourism to heritage, and I was a founder member of INTAC and was actively involved in the last 10 years with INTAC and last 6 years as chairman of INTAC. Now, INTAC's focus was largely on urban heritage. It had 150 chapters, all of them in urban areas. Well, the reason for INTAC coming at that stage was that there was need to supplement governmental efforts by the ASI to a non-governmental organization to create awareness for heritage, and so that awareness should start from the cities. Now I think INTAC has done 25 years, and time has come to shift the focus to rural areas, because that's where, as Lord Rana mentioned just now, the real India lives.
Right.
And so we have set up a new organization, an NGO called the Indian Trust for Rural Heritage and Development. And the objective of this trust is to use heritage for creating rural development, the regeneration of rural heritage. Now, by way of example, now when you talk of heritage, as you rightly pointed out in that clip that was shown earlier, heritage is not just architectural heritage.
Absolutely.
It's intangible heritage, it's crafts, it's music, it's dance, it's cuisine, it's customs, it's fairs, it's festivals, it's myths, legends, all these traditions. So we are trying to explore areas how we can use heritage to create better social conditions, to create employment, improve the quality of life, create better social structure. Now, you take architectural heritage. Some people ask, how does architectural heritage contribute to economic development? Okay, the building is conserved, how does it help? Well, you take the case of Havelis in Rajasthan, in many areas. Now, a Haveli is restored.
Right.
It's converted into a hotel. Now that helps in providing employment in the local area. Not only that, economy develops. Now you take the case of Nimrana, for example.
Yeah.
Now Nimrana, when it was set up as a small on a killa, nothing was there. Now it's a very sprawling community, very prosperous community. So it has that impact. In Shekhabati area, in Khajuraho, all these areas, because of heritage, the community has benefited.
I'm sorry I'm interrupting. I think I should move to another guest. Mr. Sharma, you must be having your own set of ideas. How are you thinking to contribute into preserving the rural heritage?
No, firstly, I entirely agree with what the two previous speakers have said. I have been a professional diplomat and with special focus on the overseas Indians. And one of the common factors the overseas Indians have is that they have pride in their cultural and civilizational heritage. So the present as well as future generations, if they come to India and over the years they find that heritage is lost, that would weaken our connection. It would weaken that link between India and the 2.5 crore overseas Indian community that we have.
Would you agree with me, sir, if I say that people who actually leave India and move abroad and who settle there as non-resident Indians, they are more attached to their roots and they are more worried about their roots than the Indian who is living in this country?
You're entirely right, Jasleen, because they have an emotional connect. And what Lord Rana has done, for example, it's a very good example. The Italians who have a very large diaspora world over,
right.
Chinese, very successful. Every village from which Italians had migrated, they formed the village association of that. And then they see how to remain connected to that village from where their ancestors had migrated. And they contribute to that village's prosperity, development, maintenance of its heritage, because they are very keen in a way that heritage should be passed on to coming generations. So, and here is an example of Lord Rana, that he has contributed to Sangol from where he comes.
Absolutely.
Now what we need to do is to work out a system that what a person like Mr. Mishra's initiative is doing, how do we connect this large overseas Indian community, that 1 or 2 pilot projects can be done and which can be done replicated across 100, 200, 400 villages in India, because not only India lives there, the Indian craft, which is the real soul of India, that is there. Take the example of Madhubani paintings. Today it's a flourishing industry. Madhubani paintings are kurtas, dhotis, saris, women, everything. And how did it originate? It's something which they painted on the wall of their hut. That's the folk origin of the Madhubani. That heritage could be preserved and nurtured. It's $1 billion business today.
I'm actually very worried for the craftsmen over here. When they make something and they are selling it in their own state from where that culture belongs to, they're paid peanuts. But when their craft which they have actually made goes to even any cultural festival happening in Delhi or in Bangalore or in Chennai or in Bombay or any place else in the world, I mean, the person who is the middleman in it, he actually gets a lot,